Man, what a message that Carl brought Sunday. Yeah. Just, man, it struck so many chords with me, Mark. It was, man, just brought back to reality, and so many times we think we're the only ones that feel that way, don't we? But man, what a great message. Message was a call of God, when God calls, or the call of God. But anyways, God calling, and just, man, just what he shared. And
yeah, and the important part to think about that, Ray, is God calls everybody. He might call you to something different or change. You might be a plumber, you might be a construction guy, you might be a pastor, you might be a media person, but God calls us all to do something. And Matthew 28:19-20 says we are all to go and make disciples.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter if you're a pastor or if you're a construction guy or what you are. He calls all of us to be sharing the gospel. And but it's kind of like Carl shared, it's sometimes it's easy to go, hey, I can't do this, I can't do that, and we're going to dive into a little bit what that looks like today.
It's just good, isn't it? Yeah. There were just a lot of good things that he said, and just, man, struck a chord just with me and just my life. So anyways, it was a great day, just all around. Every Sunday we get to come and worship and spend time in small groups. It's man, just how God works. And I talked to several people even Monday and through the week, and they said, man, just this week, it's just, I can't believe how God really worked between small groups and then in the service, just to get my attention and to tell me the message that I needed to hear. And man, so many times that's what God does. He knows what we need when we need it, and he works even when we don't know. So that is just so cool, so cool. Well, have you ever experienced that Carl was talking about? God calls, and you look at your qualifications or what you're comfortable with, and then you keep getting this nudge from God, and Mark, I want you to do this, God. And you're just thinking, God, you must be talking to the guy next to me, because, that's not my cup of tea. That's not what I'm comfortable with, and does he leave it alone, or does he continue to prod and to push and to nudge, and so have you ever experienced that?
I've experienced that several times. I would say I've had positive responses to what God has been calling me and prodding me to do. And I've had some negative responses, and some, and I've shared some of them in my testimony before, some of them that I'm not proud about. But yes, I think that happens to a lot of us, maybe all of us. All of us think, hey, well, we can't do this. But God is who God is, and he's sovereign. And if he calls you to do it, we always have to remember, and I share this a lot sometimes, we've got to remember the God who spoke things into existence is asking us, or telling us, however you want to say it, to go do this. And so if he is saying that to us, he's already given us whatever we need to do it. We need to rely on him and go and do it. And so, I've encountered that, Ray. I mean, I'm assuming you have as well.
No, I'm still waiting.
You're still waiting.
I've experienced it multiple times, just even growing up. And, I've never felt smart enough or knowledgeable enough or experienced enough, and it's just one of those things as a kid growing up. And I'm sure many people feel that way, and then as God said, hey, I want you to teach a class. It's like, God, you want me to teach a class? Man, what can you do through me? Man, I get nervous talking in front of people. What can you do through me? How can I, and it's the word that always gets me is I.
Yeah.
What can I? He says, I'm not asking you to do your plan. I'm asking you to allow me to work through you. I got a plan, and I've created you, and I've made you for a purpose, and I give you everything you need. And so, just even from teaching a small group to going to the Woodlands and preaching on Sundays, it's like, man, Lord, you want me to go over to the Woodlands and preach? Man, God, how can I share? How can I do? Man, Lord, I'm not worthy. man, maybe you need to send someone else, but it's not. He keeps pushing. He keeps prodding. Said, are you going to listen? Are you going to allow me to work?
Right.
Are you going to keep making it about you? So when Carl was speaking, it just, man, took me back. And even now, in times, when God says, hey, I need you to go do this, and I want you to go here and share this. And I'm like, ooh, what, those, I'm not comfortable in that place or with those people. And Lord, they don't know me. And it's just the neighborhood or, it's
right.
And God still pushes. And then when you are obedient, you go, man, God blesses you, doesn't he? And he gives you what you need. It's like,
right.
And I think that's my prayer every day too. It's, Lord, let me see what you want me to see, and let me say what you want me to say. Man, it's not about me. And so many times, if I'm having that issue already, I'm already in the wrong spot. It's about me. Instead of saying, okay, Lord, if this is what you want from me, then guide and direct me, give me wisdom and discernment, and guide my steps, like he says. But man, I just Carl used Exodus 3, didn't he? 3 and 4, talking about Moses' life, and he's always been just a big deal to me. The story of Moses has always been, when I was a kid, I remember when the 10 Commandments came out as a movie, and my brothers and my mom and dad, they were so excited man, the movie's out, it's on the big screen, we got to go see it. So, man, it was always kind of a neat thing as a kid when I saw it, and I was always amazed at, man, him parting the water and all the plagues and all the things that went on, and a few things that I saw in the movie that I have never read in the Bible, it kind of got my attention later. Well, where was this at in there? When did this happen? But man, the story of it. I thought of the burning bush. And in the first 3 verses, he gets right into where Moses sees the bush. God shows himself through the bush, and he says, "Man, I got to go see this bush because it's burning, but it's not burning up. I got to go here and see this." And I thought of when I was a kid. I saw a burning bush, Mark. I saw one, but it was a couple kids playing behind the bushes where a lawnmower was with matches, and they caught the lawnmower on fire, caught the bush on fire, and pretty soon the air conditioner that was above it caught on fire. But, God wasn't really in the bush.
Right.
And I hate to tell you, but the bush burned up. It didn't. So maybe we didn't see God in a burning bush coming up, but man, seeing God work is amazing. And as I look at Exodus 3 and just how God showed himself and how he spoke to Moses, and even reading these verses, thinking about how God said, Moses, I've got this for you, and I want you to go do this. And even the struggles that Moses had when God's telling him, right there, how we still struggle. It's like God didn't really, he didn't appear to me in a burning bush. He didn't say, Ray, he didn't.
Right.
It's more of that soft, still urge that he does. The Spirit kind of moving through his word, through prayer, just guiding me, putting it in my heart. But, even when he tells you straight to your face, sometimes it's a struggle, isn't it? God, and as we go through these, it's just interesting to see how, man, what people went through in the Bible, we go through too. There's nothing new, is there, Mark? So man, yeah, there's things God's going to ask us to do that we're not comfortable with,
right?
That we're not capable of doing in our own strength, our own power, but God gives us, doesn't he?
Right.
So I just thinking about, and we kind of already talked about the many times that we've seen God moving in our lives. I think about even in my family, just some of my family that didn't know the Lord, that now know the Lord, and man, when I met them and I knew them, how I thought, man, I liked them, but I wouldn't have pictured them being in ministry. That God would get a hold of their life, that God would change their hearts, change their desires, that he would give them a new heart, and that he would bring them into ministry. And it's like, God, even the people that they grew up with had to be thinking the same, man, that person that I knew in school, and now he's this person, man, what happened? What happened? But that's God working, and when I see him working, it's like, God, I'm amazed at how you do that, how you take something that we don't figure is going to work. I think about many of the stories in the Bible. We had talked about David even yesterday. He picks the least, doesn't he? He picks those that we don't figure. When he called the apostles, he's calling tax collectors and people that nobody else is going to call. No, they're not worthy of it. I mean, calling prostitutes, Rahab, where he works through her life, and even puts her into the lineage of Jesus Christ. It's just amazing how God, he uses the unusable, right?
Yeah.
And he makes you usable. So man, just this week is just a reminder that, man, Lord, I need to keep my eyes open for what you have to do, your plan and your desire, and knowing that. So how many times have you told God, in verse 4, he says, when the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called to him out of the bush, and he says, Moses, Moses. And what does Moses respond with?
Here am I.
Here I am.
Or
Here I am. Here I am. Here I am. Nowadays we'd say,
Here am I.
But yeah.
Here am I.
Anyways, he's saying, I'm right here. I'm here for you. What do you need? And how many times have we said, wow, I'm here, God. I'm here, and then.
It usually comes, though, with a tagline that says, but what are you asking me to do?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I'm not sure I'm here yet or not. First, before I answer,
physically.
growing up, it was a lot that way.
Tell me
when my name was called, it's like, I hear you, but I'm not sure I want to answer. But he answers, doesn't he? He says, here I am, But as we go, he says, here I am, God. I see the burning bush. I'm amazed. He takes his sandals off because he's on holy ground. God says who he is, and the God of his fathers, Abraham, Isaac. He sees him and he knows, and man, he's in awe of him. And then when he speaks, he says, I'm here, right? I'm here. But how quickly it changed. In verse 10, he says, come, I will send you to Pharaoh that you may bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. And I can see his, excuse me? And looking around for who else is here, who's going to bring them out of there? Who's going to, I know you said you saw and you know what the people are going through, that you're aware of all these things. But Lord, I think you're climbing up the wrong rope here. I'm Moses. I don't do that. What do you call me to do? And right away, what does he do? He starts making excuses, doesn't he? Mm-hmm. Wait a second. What did you say? God, this is Moses. You're talking to who? Do you know who you're talking to? God, this is what I can do. Then we start making, God, here's what I do. Now, God, I can make a pretty good omelet. I can do some different things here, man. I can work on the house and do some different things. I can do a little carpentry. I might even be able to do a song and dance, Mark. But God, I've never done that. And God, I'm just, that's a lot. I came from Egypt. I saw Egypt. I saw Pharaoh. I saw his army. I saw the oppression. God, who am I to go in there and say, Pharaoh, let my people go?
But at that point, God could have said, yeah, you're right. You are not enough, but I am enough. And I was thinking that when you were talking earlier and you said, well, I'm not enough. I'm not enough to do this or enough to do that. All God can say is, I'm enough. And I'll speak through you. I'll be and that's exactly what God did in the case of Moses. He was his mouthpiece. Well, Aaron was his mouthpiece, but he still spoke through Moses. He still did things through Moses, but it takes an obedient heart. It takes someone who surrendered to it. And that's what he's asking for. There's nothing that you can do. It's all what God is doing through you. And at any point when you start to go, well, yeah, hey, look what I'm doing, that's when it starts to disappear, because it is not about you. It's God working through you and using you because you're an obedient vessel for him to work with.
Yeah, and really that's it, isn't it? That's trying to get there. And that brings up verse 12. And seeing God's patience too just amazes me, that, even through all that, it's like, I'm talking, who I am. I've told you who I am. What I've done in the past. I've created all things. And now you're disrespecting me by saying, you can't do this when I created you. Do you think I don't know who I'm talking to, And it's back to I against me, God, in my power. And he said, I didn't ask you to do it in your power. I didn't ask you to do your plan.
Yeah.
And that's the way he is with our life. I'm not asking you to do your thing. Mm-hmm. I'm asking you to be obedient to allow me to work through you, to love and to serve me and to worship me and to, praise me as God and God alone, the creator of all things. But in verse 12, he does that. And he said, but I will be with you. And this shall be the sign for you that I have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve God on this mountain. Right away he says, Moses, you're right, you can't. But I'm going to be with you. It's going to be my power. It's going to be my strength. I'm not asking you to do this on your power by yourself. Man, I know you can't do it, but I'm going to be with you. I'm going to do this through you. Yeah. You're the vessel I've chose to use. And all I'm asking, Moses, are you willing?
Yeah.
You said I'm here. Are you here or are you not? Yep. And we know that he did go. He did do that, but he's like, God, send somebody else, and God's kind of getting angry with him. It's like, fine, you got a brother Aaron, don't you? He speaks pretty good. We'll use him. I'll speak through him, but you're still going to be the leader, and you're going to do this together, and it's going to be by my power, by my strength. So he still works through it. But, in verse 13, it says, then Moses said to God, if I come to the people of Israel and say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name? What shall I say to them? Right away, he's making excuses. Okay, God, we got this thing fixed, but when I go to them, when they say, well, who are you? And I say, God sent me. Who am I? What is your name? The interesting thing is it had been over 400 years since God had spoken, right? They have been in this bondage for all this time, and who do the people know anymore? They know of God way back here, but they haven't seen him working. They haven't seen this man. They've been in bondage. Joseph is gone, right? Who is he? Who am I going to say? And then he tells them, I am who I am. When I think I am who I am. And he said, say this to the people of Israel, I am has sent me to you.
So what did Moses think? That God wasn't going before him? That it was Moses going out there, and here's God behind him, pushing him this direction? No, God was already preparing the Israelites.
Absolutely.
That he was in that and farther above and beyond anything that Moses could think of. At that point, God knew that he was going to send his son to die on a cross for the Israelites and the whole world. And so, but that's the problem that we end up having, Ray, is we end up with this mentality of only what we can see, the here and now, and God sees the big picture. It's part of biblical theology. It's from the beginning of the Bible to the end of the Bible. And there's the one clear crimson thread that goes through it and ties it all together, and that's Jesus Christ. Because God sees the whole picture.
Goes before. And that's what I see here when he says, I am.
Yeah.
Man, he's forever. Exactly. He's eternal. He's God. I'm the creator of all things. I am all powerful. I'm all knowing. Man, I am. Mm-hmm. He's it. Yeah. I am God. That's who. And I'm forever, and I'm eternal. And I've never left you or forsaken you. All these things are there. I was with your forefathers, Abraham and Isaac. I was with all of them. Right. I never left you. I never failed. I am God. Mm-hmm. I am, and you'll remember that forever. And then we're reminded, and Moses is reminded, it's not me again. God, it's you and who you are. Right. And man, that's what I need to proclaim. Right. Even when we proclaim Christ and the gospel to others, it's not who I am. It's who he is.
Exactly.
Praise the Lord. I am a child of God, but it's not because I'm worthy, right?
That's right.
Because he chose me.
That's right.
And that's what it is, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Man, don't look at me. Man, it's God, and so Moses starts to get it, he's working through, and God in his patience is just working through his life. It's just, man, all day Sunday and just through this week, just thinking about God and how he works and who he is and how he's eternal, and he's God. He's in control of all. He knows my hurts, he knows my weaknesses, he knows my strengths, and he's called me.
Right.
So if he's called me to do something, Mark, there's no reason I can't do it.
Exactly.
I just need to follow him.
Exactly.
His plan and his power and his will. I just need his guidance. Man, Lord, I'm willing. I'm here. Use me, right? Mm-hmm. Wow. Mm-hmm. Well, in conclusion, wrapping things up, Paul puts it this way. He says, therefore, I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in necessities, in persecutions, in distresses for Christ's sake. He says, for when I am weak, then I am strong. 2 Corinthians 12:10. Man, that reminds me, God can use us when we're weak, when we're ready for him to work, when we're ready to do it in his plan. When Moses learned that he could not deliver Israel, but that God could do it through him, God was ready to use him. When he finally figured out, it ain't about you. It's not about your power. It's not about your ability. It's not about your strength. It's not about your plan. It's about me, God working through you.
Right.
It's about my plan and my power. It's out of weakness that we are made strong. The Apostle Paul said, but God hath chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. And God hath chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty. 1 Corinthians 1:27. Man, I think of those things. God picks those things that are weak, that seem foolish. And he uses them, right? Wow. And Mark, that's why he can use me, because I'm weak. But he is strong, isn't he? Man.
Amen.
So Moses and Paul recognized that God could move through them when they were weak. It is amazing what God can do through a weak vessel. What is God calling you to do today? In your weakness and in his power for his glory, what is he calling you? What's he nudging you to do?
Yep.
What is he calling you to do? What is his desire for you? What is his plan for you today? What are you maybe saying no to because you can't do it in your power? And as I think about this, like, Lord, just, man, help me to be obedient. Help me to trust you and allow you to work, all for your glory, for your honor.
Yeah. And there might be some people out there going, well, how do I figure that out, Ray? How do I know what that is? And it's just the daily reading of your Bible and praying and listening to God. Sometimes we're so quick to sit there and give God our grocery list, I would say, of things that we want, that we feel like we need and everything. And all that's great, and all the people you're praying for. But have you ever thought of just sitting in silence?
Quiet. Yeah.
And just listening for God. And I'm not saying a great booming voice from out of the heavens.
I'm not saying set your bush on fire in front of your house and then see if God
or your lawnmower or anything like
yeah.
that. But sitting there in silence and going, okay, God, what do you have for me today? What in your word did you want to emblazon a part of my heart?
Yeah.
Is there a neighbor that I need to go speak to today? And it's being aware of that. And, a lot of times and I kind of thought about this as I was looking over, what we're going to talk about today is I go back to, Henry Blackaby's Experiencing God. So much of the time we can find what God is wanting us to do by looking at where God is working and going and joining him in it. And so I think that's all very important, man. It was a great sermon, and I appreciated it.
God is good always, isn't he?
Amen.
He's always
Always
good.
good.
Yeah, well, man, it was great having you all today. Next week, Kenny's starting a new sermon series, so, man, come back for that.
Yep.
The gold standard.
The gold standard.
And I know God's going to speak through
the high level.
Through his word. Yeah, the gold standard. Just, man, so much. I'm excited just to see how God's going to speak through Kenny, through his word, and, man, how he's going to change our lives and mold us to make us be more like him. But, man, excited. It's going to run from July 18th next week till August 29th. So we're looking forward to seeing you there. So thanks again for just taking time out to be with Mark and I tonight. And, man, God bless you, and we will see you Sunday.